Well, you know what? This is the end of the show. The party's over, and now is time to introduce the closing and the banquet speaker. I'm going to just let him tell his story. You know, and I know he participates in his recovery. He's one of my pen pal friends in this fellowship, and I'm going to let him just tell his story. And if nothing further ado, I'm going to give you guys John B. from the Garage Group meeting here.
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me? All right. I'm not going to use that. If I have to, I will. I first want to thank Phil for asking me to speak. This is truly a privilege and an honor to speak at any Narcotics Anonymous meeting, especially during this men's conference. I want to thank Phil, Gordon, and Andy for putting this on. I know Phil's been involved for the whole 19 years. This is a really good thing to do. Our message, our promise, we only have one promise here. AA has 12 of them. We have one. And it's freedom from active addiction. And I'm okay with that one. Because for me, it described, I think we're talking about before, the horrors of addiction. That's what it was for me. Total nightmare.
Yeah.
I never want to forget my last days of using. I don't think about them. I don't dwell on them all the time. But I got to think about them every so often. When I start thinking I know something around here, there's times I start thinking I know something around here. I can remind myself I don't. I remember the last days of using drugs. I was a habitual dope shooter. Okay, couldn't stop shooting dope. And I wasn't willing to take my own life, but I was praying to God, God, please be this one, the last one of my arm, because I can't do this anymore. Every morning I woke up towards the end. The ways and means to get more went against all the morals and values that I was raised with. Everything that I stood for prior to addiction was washed down the drain. I wanted to die. I don't want to die today. I want to live. And the only way that I can live is through God and Narcotics Anonymous. I want to take a second here. Anybody here with less than a year? Can you stand, please? Anybody here has less than a year? Can you please stand? I'm going to give these guys... Welcome. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome. You found your home. Like others have said before, stay. Don't leave. I left before. I didn't get this the first time around. I wasn't a first time around guy. It took me 3 times, 3 rehabs to let this thing sink in a little bit. And I think a big reason for that for me was, see, there's a big science with opiates, what it does to the brain chemistry, how it changes everything. And how the obsession and compulsion is really, really hard with the opiates because the receptors are open, they want it, they want it, they want it. Well, I never gave the process enough time for that to leave. Now, that's an individual thing. That'll leave everybody. That's a guarantee it will leave. Some might leave in a day, some months. Some might take a year or so to leave. But please, do yourself a favor. Hold on. Hold on. This does get better. This does get better. You got walking examples around here. All these guys who spoke today are examples. Your predecessors. Thank God for my predecessors. That showed me the path, the way to live, a new way of life. Not the way I lived prior to addiction, not during addiction, a new way of life. That's right. Better than any life I've ever had before. Yep. My life is totally awesome today. I owe it all to God and this program. God first, because it was God. See, I was raised in a certain faith. I was out of my house when I was 18. When I left God, but God never left me. And so when I was ready, and I was barely holding on to that little straw, He grabbed me and pulled me, held me tight into Him. He said, it's going to be all right. I'll tell you a little brief history of how I grew up. A little bit about my drug use. The majority of what I'm saying up here should be about recovery if I'm doing this thing right. I grew up in a little small town called Munhall. Maybe some of you know it. It's above the Homestead waterfront. I'm pretty close to Kennywood. Born and raised, still live there. My parents still live there. Was raised by two loving parents. Taught me morals, values, love, how to treat other people with kindness, love, respect. Like I said before, I was raised in the faith. When you were under my mother's roof, you had to go to church every Sunday. That was not negotiable. And I'm glad that I did, because I learned a lot. It was a faith I came back to. It was comfortable for me, so I went back to that, and I still follow that today. I have a little brother, 5 years younger than me. Did very well in school. School came very easy to me. I made honor all through high school. Didn't take a book home. I just think to myself I would actually apply myself where I ended up, but it doesn't matter. I played some ball. Did all right in that. But see, sometimes in working the steps, you start tracing back some things and pinpoint some things. It doesn't really matter. It's only about what I want to do about my problem and how I can help everybody else. That's what it's about. But sometimes you got to take an introspect to yourself, at least I do, and look to see where these things started, these tendencies started. A lot of it for me stems from low self-esteem. When I was little, younger, grown up, I was really skinny. And I was made aware of the fact that I was really skinny. We know how kids can be when you're younger. That's right. So I always felt different. Like, you always said, I always wish I was the fat kid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just to me, the way I looked, I was getting picked on more than the fat kid was. And it stuck with me. And I've gotten tremendously better at it. But I still get like that sometimes. I go to the gym, 240 pounds. I still look in the mirror sometimes and see that skinny little kid staring back to me, say, "You ain't good enough, you skinny little fuck you." But like I said, I've gotten a lot better at that. So when I was in high school, about 10th grade, I said, I'm going to do something about this. So I started working out when I was playing ball, and I gained some size. I come from an educated family. My father has a master's degree from CMU. My mother has a master's from Pitt. My whole family pretty much is college educated. So there wasn't even a thought when I was growing up. That was the trajectory that I was going to go. I was going to college. That was just a given. It wasn't even a thought. So took the SATs, did very good on the SATs. I decided I'm going to go to Penn State main campus. So, like I said, I was out of my house when I was 18. Midsummer, I discovered marijuana. Now, prior to that, during high school, it was just your normal adolescent stuff. I drank after a game, whatever, here and there, but nothing of any problematic issues at all. Midsummer, I discovered marijuana. I remember looking back. I can remember it just like it was yesterday. When I smoked that joint for the first time, I says, I got it. I got it figured out. If I can feel this way the rest of my life, I'm going to be all right. It took away all those insecurities, all those feelings of self-doubt went away. I felt all right. So what did I do? I kept doing it. If it feels good, I'm going to keep doing it. So I don't want to get into politics about marijuana and the legalization, all this other shit. That's not what I'm here to do. Some people say it's a harmless drug. To me, it was not. What it did to me was it took all the way my drive and ambition away from me, flushed it all down the toilet. So, was getting close to go to school. Told my parents, I'm not going to Penn State. I'm going to community college. Now, mind you, my parents busted their ass their whole life. They were going to pay for me for 4 years to go to school. My dad told me, son, you're an adult. You can do what you're going to do. You're going to regret this. Went to community college. You guys, what do you think happened there? You think I completed it? No, because I kept smoking marijuana. And you could throw alcohol in there. And, back then for years, I would do other drugs. But marijuana was my staple. That was my everyday that I always went to. That was my comfort. That's where I like to be. But that doesn't mean I didn't do other shit. If you had some pills, I'd eat them, coke, I'd sniff them, but I didn't chase that. So as years were going by, no college education, I was raised with a hard work ethic. So that carried me for about 10 or so years. I busted my ass, worked 60, 70 hours a week, working 2 jobs, had a half-ass apartment, drove a 20-year-old car, had a girlfriend, would drink with my neighbors on the weekend, play music, have a good time. Thought that I was living a decent life. But as I was living like that, my peers and my friends, because they were doing what I was in line to do, were graduating college. They were getting married. They were buying homes. They were buying new cars. They were taking vacations. They were all passing me by. And I was right with them. Because I thought smoking weed was more important at the time. So, when I was about 29, I said, I gotta do something here, man. I gotta make a change. I knew I wasn't going back to college. That just wasn't for me. So, I applied, and I got a job with Port Authority in maintenance. Very good job. So, obviously, there was a pre-employment drug test. I quit smoking weed. Now, during your employment there, you're subject to random drug testing. Yep. So, that kept me away from the marijuana. But I still would drink once on the weekend. But when I drank, I didn't drink because I liked the taste, or I was trying craft beers or this shit. I drank for effect and effect only. But I kept it at once a week. It wasn't problematic. I was making money. Bought my first home. Was buying new cars, trucks. See, at that time in my life, it was very important to me, my material shit. Because what I had showed you that I was doing okay. Meanwhile, inside was a different story. But because I pull up to your house in a brand new truck or on my bike, that's showing you that I'm doing good, which was far from the truth. So, in 2008, was there for 7 years at this time. I broke my ankle riding a dirt bike. Required surgery. After surgery, they prescribed me pain pills. Now, this is going to be your prototypical ladder of a story I'm sure everybody's heard 1,000 times as I have. So, as soon as they gave me the pain pills, I was eating them like jelly beans, okay? Mm-hmm. And here's where the addiction, true addiction, I was addicted to marijuana for all those years, but got the job, I kept that at bay, okay? Rationalization, justification started to play with me. I thought to myself, this is the only time in your career, because that's a career job. That's a job you work at, you retire with a hell of a pension to go live down Florida somewhere. This is the only time you're going to be allowed to do this because you're getting a script from the doctor and you get away with it. Other than that, your random tests, you're not going to be able to do this again. Never understanding addiction. Now, at that point in my life prior, I used to watch the show Intervention. I used to always intrigued by that show. I still watch it today. I love that show. But at that time, I would watch these individuals, okay? They would tell their story. They would say they had a great life. They had a beautiful wife, children, home, all this shit. They started doing this drug and they lost everything. Now they're in an alley somewhere shooting dope. I'm like, what is the matter with you? Are you out of your mind? Are you crazy? There must be something wrong with your fucking head to be doing this shit. Why would you do this? Until I became an addict and I totally understood why they did that. So, I was eating pain pills they gave me. They didn't last too long. At that time, in 2008, Oxycontin started coming on the scene pretty big. So, I got a connection with them. I was doing them very heavily. And then something happened. I only had that one connection because I was kind of new to the fucking game, however you want to call it. And so something happened. I couldn't get it. And I started feeling the dope sickness, but I had no idea what that was at the time. And so here, at least for me as an addict, I could search drugs out. Okay? They always said that you could throw an addict anywhere on the planet. He'll come up with drugs if he really wants to use bad enough. So I knew this dude. It was kind of a shady character that I knew from the neighborhood. So I went up to him. At first he thought I was a cop. He didn't want to talk to me. I'm like, dude, I'm not a cop, man. I need some pills, man. I'm hurting. And he kind of could see that I was hurting. And he said, listen, I can't get you pills, but I get you some bags. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, heroin. I'm like, whoa, back up a second here, dude. Because me at that point, see, you guys that did heroin, you were way, way beneath me. So I'm taking a pharmaceutical pill that Stanford Pharmaceutical Company that has a milligram on it, and I know what I'm taking. I'm not shooting dope. You guys are losers.
Come on.
He said, opiate's an opiate. You won't be sick no more. That's all I needed to hear. Within a month of that, I'm shooting dope. I'm off to the races. Now, that went on for a few months. And like I said, I had a good job, so I had a lot of money in the bank, but that don't last too long when you're shooting a lot of heroin every day. So I went through that. My life was going to shit. I looked like shit. I looked like the Walking Dead. People around me knew, but they were afraid to say anything, especially people at work. So I finally made the decision to check myself into a rehabilitation center. So I did that. But going in, I was so naive. I didn't think I was like any of you guys. I thought to myself, listen, if I wouldn't have broke my ankle, they wouldn't have gave me the pills, I wouldn't have been eating them, I would have been doing what I'm doing. I'm not like you guys have been using for 20 years, shooting dope, homeless, in jail. That wasn't my story. So, needless to say, a month out of that rehab, I'm shooting dope again. Now, I'm not going to go into all the stories in the period of time between 2008 and 2015, which is when I got clean and stayed clean this time. I will tell you one story, though, that brings back the horrors of addiction that I was speaking about earlier. Now, a period during that time, between 2008 and 2015, I tried methadone for a year. That didn't work out for me. Tried Suboxone for a year. That didn't work out for me. I tried to figure this way out in every formula I possibly could put together in my mind without actually working the program, which is the only solution to this thing. So, I actually remained abstinent for 2.5 year period. Now, I thought to myself, I could go back to the way I was, and I could go back to drinking in the bar with my buddies once a week. I did that for 2.5 years. As the old saying goes, pickle could never become a cucumber again. I thought I could, though. I thought I had it. I thought I was different. Okay? I could figure this shit out. You might not know what you're doing. You might not know what you're doing, but I can figure it out because I'm smart. I know what to do here. So, they always say around here, when opportunity meets desire. So, let me set this up for you because I think it's important. I was going to Florida, working at Port Authority, working a lot of overtime. I was working night term by choice at that period. I was going to go to Florida Saturday morning. My flight was leaving. My whole family was down. It was my mother's 65th birthday. Me and my brother pitched in, bought my mother this beautiful diamond ring that I have. And I'm going to take down to celebrate my mother's 65th birthday. That's not going to go there with that. But so I had a wallet that my mom had bought me like Christmas time. This is July. So I said, I'm going to switch these wallets out. I had my old wallet. So as I'm switching the wallet out, I find 3 stamp bags in there. Now obviously, with no recovery in me whatsoever, rationalization, justification starts creeping right in. Thought to myself, here you go, you deserve this little treat. Busting your ass, working overtime, you're going to Florida, you're not going to get caught on a drug test, you're just going to do it this one time, you ain't going to do it again, you'll go back to your normal drinking once a week, you'll be cool. Then I thought too, it probably isn't any good, because it's how old. Well, I can tell you this, dope don't lose its shelf life, at least it did in my case. So, but I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I'm not going to sniff it. We get some needles, I'm going to shoot this shit up like I want. So, I had broken up with this girl at the time that lived with me for 6 years. We had this little, still have it today, this little Yorkshire Terrier that we had. And she was coming the next morning to pick the dog up. And I look at that dog sometimes today and think, that dog saved my life, actually. Reason being is, that night I shot dope, I fell out. It was around 11 o'clock at night. She comes 9 a.m. the next morning. I'm slumped over on a couch, blue, barely breathing, barely got a pulse, shit coming out of the side of my mouth. She calls 911. 911 gets there as quick as they can. Put me in the wagon. I code out 3 times in the ambulance. They had to bring me back. I end up in Mercy Hospital, the ICU. They had to induce a coma for 3 days. They didn't know if I was going to pull out of it. I told you, I'm supposed to be in Florida. Celebrating my mother's 65th birthday with a diamond ring that me and my brother had bought. My parents are going to get a phone call in Florida. You better get back to Pittsburgh because we don't know if your son's going to make it. That's where the disease of addiction took me. I don't know where it took any of you. That's where it took me. So I wake up 3 days later to my parents looking over me, thanking God that their son opened his eyes. Was in there for 3 weeks to learn how to walk again, eat again. Now, any rational human being on this planet, rational, would think to themselves, I'll never do that again. Think that stopped me? 2 months later, shooting dope again. Now, again, there was just for today reading yesterday was about pain. And about how if we don't experience pain, if I don't experience pain, then I can't appreciate the joy in life. And that's a big, I learn a lot from pain. I grow a lot. That's where my major growth occurs is through pain. I've been in a lot of pain and active addiction, the most I've ever inflicted on myself. I go through pain today. Listen, as we know, recovery don't guarantee life's going to be great every day. It just doesn't happen like that. I got shit that I go through. But I got tools and people to get through it with today. So, I needed a lot of pain again this time. And I need a series of consequences. I need consequences too for me to stop using. Because without consequences, I'd still be shooting dope. I wouldn't be up here. So my consequences happened 1, 2, 3. I finally lost that job of 14 years of Port Authority. During that time, my abstinent period, I was married. I'm still married today, but my wife was going to leave me, and I had legals on me because of ways and means to get more. I was 44 years old in my 3rd rehab, thinking, you stupid fuck. You had your whole life ahead of you. Great job, beautiful wife, beautiful home. You flushed it all down the damn toilet again. And what happens is, obviously, as the black and white says, it's progressive. So during that period, it got worse, and it got worse quick. It didn't take a lot of time. I wasn't out there for years again. It was months that I flushed my life down the toilet. Mm-hmm. So, again, I finally came to the point I surrendered. This is enough. Can't do this. When I sincerely reached out for God's hand, as I said before, He grabbed it. He hasn't let go since. Now, I had an introduction to the program, and I went to some meetings. I was talking to John before we were in line to get dinner here. And I was saying that I don't really consider myself a relapse because I never truly worked the recovery program. For me to truly work it, I got to do all the things that my predecessors tell me to do. If I'm not doing that, I'm not in recovery. Just going to meetings that you're not in recovery. I have to do all these things to be in recovery. So, said prior before, the obsession and compulsion never gave enough time for me to leave. So this time, a couple people told me before I went into the rehab, listen, John, pray to God. Pray. Don't tell Him, but ask Him sincerely with your heart, God, if it's in your will and you see fit, please remove this obsession and compulsion from me. I said, I'm going to try anything this time. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to listen to these people that have clean time that are doing this thing. And listen to the people in the rehab that went to school for this stuff. Hit my knees every morning, every night, said that prayer along with some other things. The 10th day into rehab, God removed the obsession and compulsion for me to use. I had nothing to do with that. That was God. That was a sign there that got me off and running. I said, I think I got a good chance this time. I felt it in my heart. So I had to feel it in here internally. Yeah. It wasn't just talking about the shit. It was feeling it inside internally. Really feeling it. So I went through the process, rehab, full ride, listened, paid attention, took notes, wrote, journaled, did everything they told me to do. I knew when I come out, I'm going to do the 90 and 90. I'm going to do what I got to do. So about 5 days to get out, you have to meet with your counselor to set up your aftercare. So I sit down with them. Now let me back this up a second. Now, I haven't worked in months, okay, because I lost a job. So all I'm doing is stealing to feed my high. But now I need to get a job and I need to go back to work right away. Because a big part of my identity as a man is work and what I do. But I didn't care about that in active addiction. But now all of a sudden I want to go work and make money and do all this shit. So they said, listen, we highly suggest, you go to an intensive outpatient that's 4 days a week, 7 hours. I'm like, well, wait, how long is that for? They're like, well, it could be 2.5 months. I was like, whoa, wait a second here. I'm like, well, you got anything else? Well, they said, we got this partial program. It's 3 nights a week for 2.5 hours. So sign me up for that. So I prayed that night, prayed the next morning. That next morning I said, here you go again. You think you know better than what these people are telling you to do. You said to yourself, you told God you're going to do whatever it takes. Now you're not doing it. I went back in there and told him, give me the initial plan. So, I did that. I did that for 10 weeks. Met this counselor there. I'm still in contact with today. Absolutely love her. And I was having a problem the first few weeks. Still with this bullshit playing on me about working. And she said, John, listen. You got to tell yourself, this is your job right now. This is what your job is. Your job is to work on yourself, to set you up for your future. There's no important job you have right now than this. I thought, man, she got a good point there. That's a pretty good point. And see, I don't want to get into this either, but, I don't agree with the way our country treats addiction. Especially with opiate addicts, like I said before, what it does to the brain chemistry, it takes a while for that. My brain's still permanently screwed up from shooting dope. But it takes a while for it to adjust back to a fairly normal level. In 21, 28 days in a rehab and a couple months outpatient, to me, ain't enough. Like other countries, they do like a year, because a year is the most crucial point with this thing. A year is the most crucial point. So I did that. I built my foundation. I built it strong. Went to meetings every day, sometimes twice a day, because I'm sure we've all heard the 90 and 90, right? 90 and 90, 90 and 90, 90 and 90. Now, there's a statistic that they came out with in the American Medical Journal, and they found that those that come out of an inpatient rehab, do 90 meetings in 90 days, have an 86% chance of staying clean 1 year long. Those that do not, it drops to 6%. So I heard that 86%. I'm good with numbers and facts that I can look up. They're not people's opinions. They're black and white facts, just like the basic text is. I said, well, I'm going to do more than that. So 18 months, I didn't miss a meeting. That's how important this thing is for me, because I'm against an adversary that on a daily basis wants to kill me. There's no greater adversary a human being will face than addiction. And all of us in this room right now are some of the most courageous people on this planet. Now, to fight this thing, I got to do, by any means necessary, whatever it takes to stay clean. So, all the time, not just sometimes, not just when I'm in a meeting, I got to keep on the armor of God and the armor of recovery. It's always with me at all times. I'm going to use an analogy here. Same when our brothers and sisters were over in Iraq fighting in the desert. They kept full body armor on all times. It could be 120 degrees out in that desert. They didn't have it over in a corner in case maybe a gunfight ensues. Then they're going to go get their armor and put it on. It don't work like that. Same thing with recovery. I got to have that on at all times. I got to be prepared and be guarded for that unguarded moment. And that moment, those moments will come and have come in my life. It says on page 79 of the basic text, we have never seen a person relapse that lives the Narcotics Anonymous program. Past editions that used to say rarely, but they found that those that live this never relapse. There's a big difference with those two words. Never relapse. What does living the Narcotics Anonymous program entail? I'm sure we are all well aware of these 4 things. Meetings, God, steps, service. I'm going to be doing all those 4 things the best of my ability on a daily basis. And I fall short. I'm not hitting them all the time in full force. And I sway sometimes on different shit. But if I try the best of my ability to work them, that tells me I will never relapse. That tells me that if I do the same shit I did today, tomorrow, I will not use drugs. See, this thing for me, too, is about practice. I just didn't get the first day clean and was this recovering addict like, yeah, you know. Don't work like that. Anything in life that was worth anything for me that I was good at takes practice. So I practice this thing consciously on a daily basis. Meetings. Why are meetings so important? Well, it says in the black and white, those that go to meetings regularly stay clean. The black and white says it. It's not swayed by human opinion. That's fact, settles it. It's done. And 2, the therapeutic value of one addict helping another is without parallel. See, the process here is, I can't talk about stuff that I talk to you guys with guys I work with, okay? Or some of my family members, or some of my friends that I've been childhood friends with that know them in recovery, but I can't talk to them. Like, I could go up to my man and be like, listen, dude, I felt like shooting dope today, man. He's going to talk me off the ledge. We're going to talk about it. You're not going to look at me like I got 3 eyeballs. And the beautiful thing about this process is it's free. $1 if you got to throw it in the basket. If you don't worry about it. People in the outside world spend thousands and thousands of dollars for therapy that we get for free. We are so blessed in this day we're living in with all the meetings that we have. Because the initial stage of this process, obviously, we have to make acknowledgement towards Alcoholics Anonymous. If it wasn't for them, we would not be here today. So thank God for them. But really, in the grand history of NA, it hasn't been out for a long time. They say that the first meeting was in 1953 in Van Nuys, California. Technically, it was actually 1950. But that doesn't matter. But in the beginning stages, a lot of us went to A because that's all there was. You know? But today, see, there's no excuses. See, and the thing about this process is the only people that I could really pound this shit to is a sponsee. Okay? Because it ain't my business to ask you how many meetings you go to, what step you're on. That ain't my business. That's between you, your sponsor, and God. If it's a sponsee, believe I'm going to ask him. And the thing is, you're not going to give me no excuses why you didn't get to a meeting. And I share this all the time. A couple of my buddies get a kick out of this. I'm like, listen, dude, you're not an on-call transplant surgeon got to put a liver in somebody. Why aren't you at a meeting? Okay? There's no excuse. Because when I was using, I didn't give an excuse I wasn't going to use that day. Oh, well, maybe I might not use today because I really don't feel like going out and getting dope. Don't work like that. But now I get clean, and I get a few months, and I get a job, and a little girlfriend, some new shoes. Now I can't get to meetings.
I'm tired.
Give me a fucking break. Because this is how this thing works.
Right.
Meeting makers make it. My sponsor got 34 years clean. He still goes to 4 meetings a week. What does that tell me? I got to go at least 4 meetings a week. If I pick the guy for a reason, we're going to do what he does. But that's an individual thing. That's what I do. What you do is your business. Why is God so important? Because when I was using drugs, when I take the first one, my spiritual connection ceases to exist. There is no God. When there's a drug in me, I cannot have a connection with the higher power of any sort. I just can't. I'm filling that emptiness in myself with drugs, and never gets filled. What will replace that? The only thing that will replace that is God. Another reason I need God is, if I want to work these steps, 6 of the steps are God reliant. If I don't have a God, I can't work those 6 steps. Which brings why steps are so important. Steps are so important. Again, 6 are God reliant steps. 6 improves my relationship with the higher power, which is one of the biggest blessings in my life. Provides me that peace, that comfort. Like I said, when I reached out and to grab me, like I always feel His presence, whatever I choose to call Him. His presence around me, it comforts me. It always tells me, even though I have self-doubt and I'm a human being and I sway sometimes, it always is back there saying, John, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. It's going to be okay. Don't take nothing. We'll work it out. Why is service so important? Because this is a self-centered disease. What I'm using, it's all about me, 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 me. And for me, when I was using, I was by any means necessary out. So that meant if you had something, and you had something that was going to get me high, I'm going to run through you, take it. I don't give a fuck if you got a gun, what you got, I'm getting it to get high. Because at that point in my life didn't mean anything. I didn't care. At that point, I was like, please pull the trigger because I don't give a shit. Is that a terrible place to be in life? Not caring if you live or die? Not caring, not thinking about the effects it would have on your loved ones, your parents that love you? So whenever I could, I got my first service commitment. Now, I have to be in service to NA, but also I have to be a service to my family, my community, my employers. The service extends way beyond these rooms of NA. What I learn in here, and other guys have stated this, carries me to the outside. Okay? And I say this all the time too. It don't matter what I say here or share in a meeting. It's how I'm living the other 23 hours out there. How I'm carrying this thing out there. What have I learned here? How am I treating my wife, my son, my parents, my brother, my friends, my friends, the guys I work with, the stranger that I meet on the street or pass by in the store? This program has given me, again, a new way of life. A better life than I ever imagined possible. So like a lot of us here, there's a metamorphosis that occurs here. The guy I was over 6 years ago is not the guy standing in front of you today. Because the guy 6 years ago, I couldn't even look in that mirror. Because there was nothing looking back at me. I was a shell of a human being. Eyes were black. There was nothing there. Soulless creature. Now, I'm okay with myself in the mirror. I know that God is with me. He provides. Even though sometimes I doubt, because I'm a human being, I'm a flawed creature, so I have doubt sometimes. But I know, like I said before, that everything is going to be okay. Now my God has provided me with all these things, all these blessings that come. A lot of them I wasn't even prepared for, didn't even ask for. But as all of us know, the longer you stick around, do what you got to do, these things just come. You ain't even thinking about them, they just come. Because you're doing the right thing. When I'm doing the next right thing, the best of my ability, things work out. I try to live by a motto today. If I can help you, I will. If I can hurt you, I won't. It's called practicing humility too, gentlemen. And what I do too is, see, this is really a big honor for me. It really is, okay, to do this. But I didn't tell 56,000 people I know that I'm doing this tonight. A couple of my close buddies came, and I'm glad that they came. But I didn't tell a lot of people. Because I don't need that. I don't need you sitting here listening to me. You probably know what I'm going to say. Because you heard me speak before. What's a big deal? You know? But then I got to realize, though, that this is a big deal. That this is a responsibility I have to give back, which was so freely given to me. Because if not, I'm just stealing around here. I've learned so much from the gentleman in this program. A very wise man told me one time about meetings. He said, many meetings, many chances. Few meetings, few chances. No meetings, no chance. I love meetings, man. See, you know, before when I was drinking and shit, that was my social, was going to a bar. I'm sure like a lot of us, I usually don't like to do this, but for a lot of us, this is our social. This is where I meet a lot of my friends today. And this is where I meet like-minded people. See, we're on the same mission here. We all understand each other. We're on the same team. We're there rooting for each other. This takes a team to do this shit. I can't do this stuff myself. It's not the way this program works. It's a we program, not a me program. But, again, I got to put some work into this thing. Because this shit just wasn't a magic wand wasn't waved over me and this just all happened, Like I said, it's practice. But I love it, man. I'm a pretty good person with routine. My life is kind of like a Groundhog Day. My typical day plays out like this. I get up at 4:30, go to work, come home from work, let the dog out, go to the gym, come home. It's real important. Like I said before, I have a 3-year-old son. Maybe I didn't say that, but one of the biggest external blessings I've received is that son that I have. We have dinners as a family every night. It's very important for us when we sit down as a dinner as a family. There's no phones, there's no that bullshit. We spend time as a family. That's the way I was raised. That's the way my son's going to be raised. He's not going to be raised by a fucking phone in front of his face. So that's what we do. In 4 nights, sometimes 5, I go to a meeting, say my prayers, go to bed, do the same thing. Now, I said before about the 3 consequences that brought me to my knees basically this time. So I'm going to fast forward to how those consequences got reversed. Lost that job. I got another pretty good job today. I actually work for the borough I live in Public Works Department. I'm the Teamsters Union. It's a pretty good job. My wife, obviously, we worked it out because we have a son. She stuck with me. I can't say enough. I've got to take a second here and talk about my wife. She's not one of us. But that woman, I relapsed 3 times, put her through hell. She is much stronger than I am. I don't get that twisted, okay? I did some work, but she put up with my shit. And I think to myself sometimes, if it was reversed, I'd have walked. There ain't no way I'd have put up with my shit. She truly honored the vows that we took that day in front of God and our family. She honored them. That happened to me, which was huge. And that was through God working through her. And she had to go to a program too. She got involved in Al-Anon, which I don't think if she wouldn't have did that, we would have been together today. It helped her tremendously to understand what we go through and what we have to deal with. During the process too, I got a lawyer. All my legals are expunged. Pull my name up, it's clean. But that was a process. And those were things that I didn't set out for in the beginning. In the beginning, I just wanted to stop hurting and stop shooting dope. That's all I wanted to do. I got so much more than that. By first just showing up. Listen, I tell all the guys that I sponsor initially, I don't want you to just get to a meeting, start praying. That's all. They want to get the steps will come, my man. Serve down the line. Don't worry about that shit. Get to a meeting, pray. Just do that. Get the ball rolling, man. Get the ball rolling. Start practicing. Start getting this into your life. Start to get a routine going. See, listen, because when I was using, there was no routine. I was all over the map. It was just ways and means to get more. Just a machine. Just going. No, there was no thought. Like, I look back at that now sometimes and think of those last days of addiction, how I was living my life. And I'll tell you this thing, too. My wife says that I'm a mama's boy. And at first, I kind of took offense to that. But now I'm okay with it. And when I was around my mother, I didn't want to be around her a lot when I was using. Because she, you could see in her face the sadness that she felt and the concern she felt. So I couldn't even look her in the eyes. But her hand, never did this before, her hands would violently shake when she was around me. Because of me. I caused my mother's hands to violently shake. My mother's hands don't shake anymore. I'm there for her today, okay? I got to share this real quick, because this is what's going on in my life. My mother was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, okay, fairly recently. She's going through her second round of chemo right now, blood transfusions, all this and that. Trying to get her white blood cell count up. Hopefully they'll get there. If not, there's different things that we could do. I'm there for her today. If I was using, I wouldn't be there. There's no way I would be there. When I overdosed and ended up in that ambulance, God didn't see fit to take me at that point in my life. There's reasons. I don't know what those reasons are, but there's reasons why He kept me walking on this planet. Maybe one of them is there to be there for my mother. I hope it is. You know, I'm a benefit now to my family, to my friends, to my employer. I'm a productive member of society, like it says in the black and white. And I've worked hard to be a productive member of society. And to me, in the beginning, it was such a foreign concept. I didn't think it was possible in the beginning. I thought if Phil could do it, and you could do it, but there's no way I could do it. I never gave myself a chance in the beginning, until this last time. And see, that's the thing about this journey. See, there's sometimes I look back and say, listen, if you'd have got this the first time, you'd have still had a job at Port Authority, you'd be retired at 56 with a full pension, blah, 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 this whining shit. It wasn't my story, it wasn't my journey. Because if I continued to work there, I had the means, the money to do it with my paycheck, I'd have probably been dead. So what would it have all been for? It would have been for nothing. It would have robbed me of my journey. It's not so much about the starting point for me. It's not so much about the destination. And there is no destination in this program. It's about the journey. The journey is a beautiful process. And I never, even with a sponsee, would never, ever rob somebody else of their journey. Because that's your journey. That's your journey. That's your story. And we all have our own stories. We could all relate. Okay? We all could relate. Anybody comes up here and talks like, this ain't no big deal. I'm not doing nothing special. Any one of you can come up here and talk and deliver a message. If you truly surrender this process and are truly working the recovery program in your life, you get up here and give a message. And you will help somebody. Because I get a lot of help listening to you guys. Not only did I learn how to not shoot dope anymore, I've asked questions recently on how to be a decent father. How to be a decent husband. I didn't know how to do these things. I'm a first-time father. I was at 47 years old. And see, that's another motivating factor. But yes, as we know, this is all about us. We have to do this for us. And I did that for how long? But I got some external factors riding on my shoulders right now, and that's my family. And I will not let them down. I have a 3-year-old son that looks up to his father at this point. He's never seen me use drugs. And if I do what I got to do today, I do tomorrow, he will never see me use drugs. It says on page 79, right? Those who live the program never relapse. Same thing with my wife. By doing this process, I've been afforded to, we made an arrangement where my wife works part-time. So I'm basically the sole financial support of my family. I pay all the bills. My wife does whatever she needs to do with her little money, and that's okay. Something happens to me. Wait a minute, let me take that back, because I got a pretty hefty life insurance policy I bought, so she probably still wouldn't be okay if it wasn't for me. But that's not the point. The point is, I got to be there for that kid. My son's name is Grant, and I could sit here for hours and talk to you guys about him, but that's not what I'm here to do. But he's definitely a driving force behind me. And there's days where I get up and I don't want to do this no more. I'm tired of being a fucking addict. I don't want to get up and do all this shit again. But I get that nudge. I get that nudge from behind. Grant's telling me, you got to do this, Dad. I will not let that kid down. To me, that's the biggest job I ever had in my life, is being a father of that kid. I do not take that lightly. And the blessing is, he's never seen me hide. But don't sit here and think that because if it would have happened before, he would have. I'm not immune to that shit. I have control of it today because I'm clean, and when he was born, I was clean. So I got a pretty good chance of staying that way. This program has given me so much. Like I said, the basis is God, meetings. The steps are so important. I know some guys sit up here and they go through each step and how they did that. To me, that's for a sponsor and a sponsee to do. We know what the steps are. We read them at every meeting. That's the most important part of any meeting to me, too, is the readings. My sponsor always told me, listen, there's sometimes in a meeting I don't get a whole lot out of it. Maybe I'm being closed-minded at that meeting. Maybe it's a different meeting. But my sponsor always tells me, if you got the readings out of it, you got a good meeting, shut your mouth. And that's the truth. Because the readings are the core. You know, why am I here? There's a reading for that. What's the program? Reading for that. You know, I'm not sure how this thing works. There's a reading for that. Readings, literature is big in my life. So important. Basic text. My man got the basic text, Living Clean, two of my favorites. There's other ones too. Actually, I got the history of NA. I've read that. I like reading about the program because if I want to get good at something, I got the knowledge behind it to back it. So I'm all about the literature. Like I said before, the black and white does not lie, just like my God does not lie. It's the truth, the ultimate truth that can't be disputed, can't be questioned. Man, is it good to be clean, guys. Like I said before, I got to say it again. I never thought my life would be what it is today. I am blessed beyond my wildest dreams. One of my favorite spiritual principles is hope. Hope I gave you guys some tonight.